this, if there is a moral relativism behind some of these decisions, well, it doesn't really matter. China's no different from us. Actually, China is very different from us, and the way they treat some of their own people, the way they're trying to build an artificial intelligence state to monitor their own people, and the way specifically they're oppressing the Uyghurs, I think is pretty very significantly different from how Western states operate. And I think we need to get wise to it.
Front page of the Times this morning, a quarter of British universities have collaborated with extremely troubling Chinese institutions which have been linked to either the Uyghur genocide, espionage, nuclear weapons development, defence and security research, or hacking. The Times investigation has revealed at least 42 British institutions have in the last 5 years held agreements with Chinese universities which carry out work specifically for defence or security purposes, including the alma mater of Xi Jinping, the Chinese president. We can speak this morning to Bob Seeley, MP for the Isle of Wight, of course, who is on the Foreign Affairs Committee. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning to your listeners.
What's your understanding from the story about whether these, well, I don't know, the scale of understanding of the universities, would they know who they were linking up with and what these institutions did?
I can't believe that they wouldn't know. If you're having an agreement with a military university in a Communist Party, one-party state, you should do. It's the very simple answer. I congratulate the Times on this investigation because I think it's a very important one. It's a shame this information hasn't been in the public domain much earlier.
I'm just looking at some of the examples. There are dozens of universities, including 4 from the Russell Group. Cambridge is among those to have signed agreements with Tsinghua, the alma mater of President Xi, which has been accused of developing voice recognition technology linked to human rights abuses in Xinjiang. And then just one other, so that our listeners know what we're talking about. Other universities have ties to institutions known as the Seven Sons of National Defence, which operate hand in glove with the People's Liberation Army and have been accused of harvesting foreign research for the Chinese military. How much of this is a kind of hangover from a time when UK-China relations were very much encouraged under David Cameron and George Osborne, and how much of this is financial necessity, do you think?
I'm not sure it's necessarily financial necessity because it's different from having Chinese students in the UK, which, look, we welcome, obviously. This is about the elements of the Chinese state, because the idea that a university is a free and open institution in a one-party state is not, it's really for the birds. This is about the Chinese state developing in coordination with British universities or using British brainpower, developing things which are bad for that country, which are bad for that country's people, and which help to oppress that country's people and allow the Communist Party state to oppress its own population. So whether it's a hangover or not, again, I think is not necessarily relevant. The relevant thing here is that there is a wider ethical picture, and that British universities should not be engaging to aid a one-party communist state oppress its own people and develop technology which may be one day used against us. There's a very simple line. As regards to the golden era, I mean, that was a long time ago now. And I do think that, this, if there is a moral relativism behind some of these decisions, well, it doesn't really matter. China's no different from us. Actually, China is very different from us. And the way they treat some of their own people, the way they're trying to build an artificial intelligence state to monitor their own people, and the way specifically they're oppressing the Uyghurs, I think is very significantly different from how Western states operate. And I think we need to get wise to it and redevelop a moral compass.
Just finally on this, do you think, though, that perhaps you could argue that there is a financial interest here because by working with these groups or by not working with them, does that then discourage China from sending its students here and therefore financially bolstering universities here?
For sure, the Chinese will make this attractive. They'll make the co-working attractive. They'll imply that it makes British universities a safe space for China. But look, there's a problem with the Confucius Institutes, which are being used to spy on Chinese students here. There's a problem with Chinese university students coming here from the military and effectively doing long-term PhDs in order to harvest technology and take that technology back to China. And there's a problem with Chinese universities teaming up with British universities to develop sort of gate technology or face recognition technology that is then used to spy on the Uyghurs. So there are a series of problems here. The first issue is that you need to expose that problem, which the Times is doing. We need to be much more public about this. And the second problem is understanding that actually this is not in our long-term interest to be helping a one-party state oppress its own people.
Okay. I'd like to ask you a couple of questions, if I may, on Nadeem Zahawi. It's very much the story of the day. How damaging, Bob Seeley, do you think it is to have the Tory party that your former Chancellor had to pay a fine for carelessness over unpaid tax, and in fact spent many years appearing to deny it, and in fact threatening people who investigated that said issue with legal action?
Nadeem is a businessman who's made a lot of money setting up a firm that employs people and generates wealth. He had a dispute over how much money was owed to the taxman. That dispute has been settled. When, for the Labour Party to be bringing this up, of course they're going to. When you have no policies, you throw mud at your opponents. This is opposition parties, the Labour Party in particular, has no policies, can't even define what a woman is. So, of course, they're going to be throwing mud at us. This is an issue that's been settled. I think we need to get on and focus on really important stuff for the British people. I don't think this is one of them.
Do you think that it's a good look, though, for someone who was potentially Chancellor at the time, having to settle with HMRC over not paying money that he should have done?
But this was a dispute over how much money was owed. There was a discussion about it, and the money was paid.
Well, Peter Aldous MP has told us that he probably has got to provide some more information. The two words careless and deliberate are, I think, very important in this. I think he's got to clarify and confirm that if indeed it was a careless mistake and not anything deliberate. Do you think he should supply more information?
That's Peter Alders's own opinion. It's not mine. To be honest, I'm so much more focused on stuff that's important, whether it's the Times investigation you're just talking about now, or whether it's stuff to do with delivering a better deal for my folks on the Isle of Wight. I do think this is a bit of a Westminster insider story, and I'm just trying to avoid them really and get on with my day job and my real job.
Okay, I mean, it may be a Westminster only story, but with the people, the texters who are getting in touch with us today seem very, very upset about it, and that they don't belong in Westminster.
Fair enough. That's we live in a free country, but it's not something that's going to keep me awake at night. This is an issue that's been settled. I presume it was settled months, if not years ago. I understand why the opposition are throwing mud at us. They're throwing mud on any sort of number of issues, but I think it's to disguise the real issue that actually we need to continue to get on and govern and deliver for the British people. And that's what we're going to be doing this year. And for sure, there'll be setbacks and distractions on the way. And I think this is one of them.
Okay, Bob Seeley, thank you. MP for the Isle of Wight, also on the Foreign Affairs Committee.